Hello, Society members and our viewers from around the world. My name is Charles Knibben. I'm the president of the National Society of Leadership and Success. And today I'm happy to be hosting another Thought Leader Series interview. In this series, we sit down with thought leaders from around the world to hear their stories and get their tips for success. And today's guest is the co-founder and chief business officer of Indiegogo. Indiegogo is a crowdfunding powerhouse with over 600,000 campaigns since its inception in 2008, and now has over 100 employees. Slava, thank you for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Well, let's jump into it. We want to get your story. For all of our viewers, most of them college age, they want to get from where they are today to where you are in their futures. So could you start us with your professional story? Where did you come from, and how did you get to where you are today?
Sure, I'll back up. I was born in Belarus. We came over to America when I was 6 months old. I went to private school through 8th grade. My dad died when I was a kid, and I went to public high school in Northeast Pennsylvania. I proceeded to go to University of Pennsylvania for college, and at the time I thought I wanted to become an investment banker, because being an investment banker is what I understood was the coolest business job you can have. So while I was at Wharton undergrad at Penn, I took some banking classes, I studied a lot, and I slowly learned that I think maybe I don't want to become a banker. And then I actually moved into doing consulting. I had to decide between working at Cisco Systems, where I interned in 1999, working at an incubation company, kind of like a VC company these days, or becoming a consultant. I decided on becoming a consultant out of college because I thought that would give me the best rounded education around the corporate world. I was a consultant for 8 years, working with clients like FedEx, Goldman Sachs, and others. And then I met up with my two co-founders in 2006. In the fall of October, and we were talking about this idea of democratizing access to capital. Originally, the idea for my one co-founder, Danae, was to create a mutual fund, but we decided that if we wanted to change the finance industry, we wouldn't be able to do it in the finance industry. So we decided to use the internet, and in January 2008, we launched Indiegogo. Just like eBay was to democratize auctions or YouTube was to democratize content, we wanted to democratize access to capital. And it was a very naive idea. The word crowdfunding did not exist, and there were no other competitors. We pioneered this thing, which is now called crowdfunding. And we're very proud of the fact that now we distribute millions of dollars around the world to 70 countries a week. And there's lots of people that have received lots of money and been empowered to create incredible things.
Wow, what a great summary. But I guess the question for me is, why? Why crowdfunding? You mentioned, democratizing, the access to capital, but why for you?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was looking at different entrepreneurial ideas, nothing really popped for me yet. Eric, my other co-founder, was at Berkeley getting his MBA at Haas, where he had met Danae. And at business school, often you want to think of an idea that you want to work on. So the two of them met in the very beginning of their first semester, and they were sharing ideas. I had actually never been to California. This is now in 2006, and I wanted to visit my really good friend Eric and get to go to California. So I came to visit in October, and the three of us were just sharing ideas. And Danae said, why is it that access to capital is all about knowing the right person, knowing the right banker, knowing the right VC, knowing the right person in the government? And this really resonated with me because I believe that technology is one of the most democratizing forces, especially the internet, which is the ultimate democratizing force. And access to capital really did feel like it was a gatekeeper industry. Who did you know, not democracy? And we just had this really naive idea about if you can give people more access to capital, you can really empower more entrepreneurship. And if you can empower more entrepreneurship, you have the opportunity to really change the world, because any entrepreneur has that opportunity if you give it to them. So we just looked to naively create a platform which allowed anybody to raise money for any idea, and now it's worked. Personally, my reason for jumping in is because my dad died of cancer when I was a kid, and I had started a charity using the internet, which in 2005 meant using MySpace and PayPal. And it was very painful to, what I thought, use the latest technology to actually raise capital from friends and family and others who would care about cancer, and a lot of people care about cancer. So this was my reason for wanting to get involved, and altogether we just wanted to empower people to get access to capital.
What an amazing tribute to your father and his memory, and congratulations on all that success.
Thanks.
So, jumping into this, for those that may not be familiar with the whole notion of crowdfunding, can you kind of explain it to them and what Indiegogo's place was in the market then and today?
Sure. There's a concept of crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing can really relate to anything, but crowdsourcing means getting lots of small bits of something aggregated so you get one lump sum of a concept. For example, right now you can see us because there's light, but let's say it was dark. What we probably would do is have everybody pull out their cell phones and we would right away start turning on our flashlights on our cell phones. So by crowdsourcing that light into the room, we can light up the room. But one phone on its own would not potentially be able to light up the room by itself. Similarly, crowdfunding is a concept of getting lots of small bits of money to accomplish a big bucket of money that is needed. This actually goes all the way back to the Statue of Liberty. So the Statue of Liberty was a gift from the French, but the base actually cost $300,000. And if we didn't afford the base, we wouldn't actually get the gift to put the statue on. So we were able to get half of it, the US was able to get half of it in the late 1800s, about 150,000 from private investors, but they were missing the other 150. Joseph Pulitzer, who was leading a newspaper called The New World at the time, used his technology, the newspaper, his audience, like 10,000 people, his radius, like 100 miles, his frequency once every 2 weeks, to be able to reach out to those people and actually get the $150,000, on average 83 cents per person. So this concept of crowdfunding is not new. It just never was coined crowdfunding. It goes back already, well over 100 years. Or you could even say the Catholic Church has been crowdfunding for a long time, as they've been passing the hat sort of thing. The idea now is with the internet, you can just do this all better. What used to be 100 miles is now the world. What used to be once every 2 weeks is instantaneous all the time. What used to be, being able to do just to 100 people, you can now reach to the entire world. And it's just amazing to try to be able to have this reach and to create access to capital for people around the world.
So what is Indiegogo's place in the marketplace when you started it and then where you are today?
Right, so when we started the industry, we were the pioneers, there was nobody. And now there's over 1,000 competitors. Some of those competitors have been funded on Indiegogo, and now we're the world's largest platform, sending money between 70 to 100 countries a week, which is really exciting.
That's awesome. So can you explain for our members, especially for a lot of our members and our viewers who have entrepreneurial aspirations, what for you were some of the challenges when you were starting your business? You had two co-founders and you had this idea. Can you talk to us about some of the challenges and how you overcame those obstacles?
Yeah, basically what it means to be an entrepreneur is to try to tackle a problem that has not been solved and be willing to understand that you don't know the answers, but try to figure it out on the way. So Reid Hoffman, who's the founder of PayPal and LinkedIn, one of the founders of PayPal, really had a great example of that, which is kind of like jumping off a cliff and creating the parachute on the way down. Because you have no other option than to figure out how to create the parachute. So that's what it's like being an entrepreneur. So did we know what we didn't know or what we were supposed to know? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, if we knew how hard it was going to be, there's a good chance we might have not done it. So the naivety of it all is actually quite good. The challenges, we launched in January 2008. We bootstrapped with our own money. We wanted to be able to raise money in Q3 of 2008, which is actually when the market completely crashed, which ruined our entire plan. We now had to bootstrap with our own money for an additional 2 years, which we did not have nearly enough money to bootstrap that long, which is why my co-founders and I were thinner at the time. We couldn't afford very much food. But we just had to figure out how to solve things. We were getting rejected by VC after VC, investor after investor. We got turned down by 93 investors. They all said the same thing. This is a crazy idea. It's never going to work. No one would ever give money without getting financial return. And we just kept on persevering. What it made us do is figure out how to actually start making money and revenue on our own, because no one was going to give us money. So we had to make money so that we could afford still running the business, which actually now we have the benefit of a business that really runs quite well and monetizes quite well. It's because in the early days, we had no other option. It wasn't just about getting more money from a VC to help us. We had to figure it out ourselves. So I just think whether it's creating product or marketing or PR or who to hire, all these things you have to figure out, not knowing what the answer is. That's what being an entrepreneur is.
What drew you to not only crowdfunding, but then also what have you seen the changes, in terms of, 1,000 competitors now, but what have you seen in the industry that has changed?
Well, in 2008, 2009, no one would take any of it seriously. Everybody thought it was a joke, even though we were already starting to grow. 2010, 2011, You're starting to see a little bit of that early adopter growth. 2012, 2013, things start to become more mainstream, and you're starting to see the media pick up these huge stories. You're getting more competitors that are popping up because now investors are actually starting to support these companies, including Indiegogo, because there's actually a there. And really in the last couple of years, it's less about can we be raising the money, but now we need to make sure that we're maintaining the trust of the backers. One of the concerns that are out there is sometimes you fund these amazing products or projects, and then sometimes you don't get exactly what you expected. Well, part of that is just like understanding what it means to be part of this campaign. If you wanted to buy a commodity product, you just go to Walmart or maybe just buy it off Amazon. But if you want to be part of the experience and have an entrepreneur bring something to life, there's going to be some ups and downs, and having the public being exposed to the entrepreneurial experience is really wonderful. There are some bumps in the road here, but I think it's a great thing in the long run for more people to be involved in the entrepreneurial journey.
And what do you see as some of the benefits, as opposed to just getting that VC or getting a loan from a bank? What do you see as the benefits of crowdfunding? You know, many voices in the room.
Absolutely. So if you get money from a bank, it's valuable. You have to return it back, as some sort of loan payment. If you get money from a VC, that's valuable as well. You have to give up probably a big chunk of equity related to that. If you get money from a credit card, valuable as well. It's money you'll have to pay back at some credit card rate. The interesting thing about raising money on Indiegogo is, yes, you get the money. So $1 is $1 anywhere. But you don't actually give up any of your company, which is great. And you don't have to pay it back as a loan, which is great. But there's a lot more benefit than just the financial instrument elements. You get to actually test your audience, because your audience is telling you, are they interested in your product, in your drone, or are they not interested in the drone? Because if they're not interested in the drone, they're not going to give you money to fund your project, which that market validation is huge. You get to test your marketing. Is it for young women or old women that this should be targeted? Young men or old men? So you really get to test your marketing before you go and spend a ton of money in the real world on a lot of marketing. You get to test it via your Indiegogo campaign. You get more promotion than you ever would on your own. Instead of launching on an island without anybody knowing about it, you get to launch on Indiegogo and get all this promotion from all the other campaigners bringing in their audiences. And the most powerful thing is you actually create a relationship with your funders. So that relationship is direct to the consumer. Instead of having to go through Walmart or through Best Buy or through some intermediary, you have a direct connection between your product and the actual people that will buy it or not. And because of that, you get to create dialogue. They tell you, I want black instead of red. I want bigger instead of smaller. I think your price is too high. I think it should be lower. And that feedback is so valuable. And it's not only in that moment, you get to capture their email address, their physical address, so you maintain that dialogue as you evolve and you create a better product.
Thank you. So 600,000 campaigns later, which one for you stands out in your mind personally that you just feel like really was a great experience for you?
I mean, I'm a new parent, so I only have one child, so I can't tell you which of my children are my favorites since I only have one, but asking which of the 600,000 campaigns, it's kind of like asking which of the children are my favorite. So I really like them all, but if I had to pick a few examples that illustrate how awesome Indiegogo is and how the crowd comes together to create something incredible, I'll pick a few. So one is like the Haleys. There's a couple from Florida, and they were trying to have a baby, and they're in their late 20s, so fairly young, and they were having trouble to actually get pregnant. The hospitals and the insurance companies all turned them down from in vitro fertilization, saying that the probability of actually getting pregnant was too low, so it was not worth the risk to invest into the in vitro. So that really was a problem. And the Haleys went to Indiegogo to actually try to raise the money. The amazing thing is that they actually were able to raise the money from strangers to be able to afford the in vitro. So the miracle here is the fact that she was even able to get the in vitro. She had an opportunity to fail. Everybody else, the insurance companies and the hospitals, didn't even give her the opportunity. Here she had the opportunity to fail because the probability was way too low that they would get pregnant. As the story goes, they actually get pregnant and they have a child. And it's like incredible because no one believed that the odds that they would ever have a kid. And now you can pretty much say that because of her willing to reach out on Indiegogo and her husband and the crowd supporting them, that now they have a kid, which is really quite remarkable. It just shows that the industries that exist, the insurance companies, the hospitals, they have their own business models. And their business models don't always work the way everybody else wants it to work or doesn't want it to work. So we should allow the crowd to decide what fits in their own personal business models. And there was enough people that wanted to fund this campaign to actually have baby Haley come to life, literally, which is quite awesome. Or there's incredible technology products like Misfit. So Misfit is an activity tracker, and they came to Indiegogo and they were able to test their activity tracker product to determine should they do silver, should they do black, should they do accessories, what price point. Next thing you know, they raised nearly $1 million, and this is years ago, 2012. $1 million on Indiegogo back then was a really big deal. It's still a big deal, but back then it was almost one of a kind. Fast forward a few years, and just last year they sell their company to Fossil for $270 million. So it just shows how Sonny, the founder, will say it's that early learning that was pivotal to actually be able to grow their company correctly and invest into the right opportunities. Or similarly, Don Cheadle just had a movie playing Miles Davis called Miles Ahead, and it did incredible, and was in the movie theaters. This is just an example of something that wouldn't potentially have been funded by the typical studio system, and is getting funded on Indiegogo. And soon, Super Troopers 2 will be coming out in America, and that was funded millions of dollars by Indiegogo fans.
Part of you getting out there and engaging with the external world was a TEDx talk that you did, and it was the future of no is yes.
The future of no is yes, exactly.
So for our viewers, what does that mean for them?
Yeah, so obviously it's quite philosophical, but if you live in a gatekeeper world, you're always riddled with no's, and you're succumb to the business models of those entities. So that was a little abstract. So if you're trying to raise money, you have to work within the business models of the bank, of the VC, of the government agency. And their models work that they take lots of options and only select a few to get yes, which means most will get no. And it's not because they deserve no absolutely, it just means that the business models have to say 99.8% of the time no, and only a few get yes. Which the entrepreneurs that come to Indiegogo, one of the reasons they love us is we are a partner of yes for them. We don't say no, because we always want to empower everybody to have the opportunity. Even if you fail, it just means that you had an opportunity. So equal opportunity, not guaranteed equal result. So for us, we really believe that if you have a marketplace, just like a YouTube or an eBay, if you do that for money with Indiegogo, you're empowering everybody to have the opportunity for yes. If you do not succeed at raising all the money that you wanted, you just have to learn and improve your pitch, your product, your situation, and go back. But no one can tell you that no, you can't even have a chance, which at Indiegogo, we're really about the power of yes. And yes can really create lots of innovations that potentially people never would have expected from before. If you think about it, there's like the light bulb, right? When Edison created the light bulb, I believe there's lots of different stories. Some say he tried 12 times, some say he tried 100 times, some say he tried 1,000 times. Point is, he didn't succeed his first time. He messed up many times before he finally created the light bulb. So for us, by saying yes to everybody, doesn't mean that everything will turn out perfectly. It means that you're advancing forward innovation. And from all of this learning, you'll end up with a positive result in the long run.
For our members who are watching this, we have a mission of building leaders who make a better world. And so for many of them, they're trying to raise money for a cause or start a cause, start an event or something on their campus. So my question for you is, in what you have seen with Indiegogo, how can a person best present their story? And what kind of tips would you give to our leaders who are trying to get their story out there?
I mean, I think it's great that people want to create like a new cause or a new concept or a new business or whatever. They need to do it because they believe in it and they're passionate about it and they're being authentic about how they're explaining it and what they're trying to accomplish. Not to do it just because, or because they want to add to their resume, or because they think it will look good, or because it's nice to be a title, or it's nice to like hire people, or it's nice to get VC money. Those goals will not help drive you through the ups and the downs, because those will look shiny when things are going well, but as soon as things go south, you'll be like, this isn't working, I'm going to go a different path to get to those goals. On the other hand, if you're passionate about what you're trying to accomplish, whether it's a new nonprofit for cancer research, whether it's a way to try to create rockets to go to the moon, whether it's creating a new AI for medicine in Africa to be able to help people on their non-smartphone devices. I have no idea what it is, but if you're passionate and authentic about what you're trying to accomplish, you will be able to persevere through the ups and the downs. So I was suggesting your pitch and what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to achieve, you should really believe in it. See, Indiegogo, we got rejected by 93 VCs. We didn't have money for 3 years. Everybody told us that we were nuts. No one actually wanted to believe in us. I mean, we were the pioneers of the whole industry. There was a lot going against us. And for many reasons, we should have just folded up shop. And if we were logical and intelligent, we probably would have folded up shop. But we were so passionate and so naive that we just wanted to keep on doing it because we believed that the world needed us to be able to do something to change the world. So that is what will help drive you. And I think that is critical for your audience, for them to find their inner passions and what they believe in and just follow through on that. Because day to day, if you wake up and you do work that you're actually passionate about, then you enjoy it, it's like a gift. Because most people, they wake up, they go to work, and they just slog through it because they have to, and they kind of need to make that money. But if you can actually make money and do something and accomplish something while doing it something that you love, it's like the greatest thing ever.
I want to ask one last question. Thinking back to where you were at UPenn, your age, and where you just were in life, and to where you are today, what 1 or 2 tips can you leave with our leaders watching this series today, as far as maybe a life lesson that helped you?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm now 37, almost 38, which means that I've practically been out of college, longer than even when I was anyway, I'm pretty far away from college now. So I graduated in 2000. What lessons would I give? One is think really big, start small with ideas and iterate quickly. Another is follow your passion and believe in yourself. Another would be that I think as we get older, let me back up. When we were children, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we believe anything is possible. And endless creativity because we do not know the limitations of what is not possible or what is not right. As we start to get older, we go through our typical school system, and not only is creativity and entrepreneurship not embraced, I would say that it is slowly beat out of us so that we get our 4.0 averages, so that we get the right A's and are always successful. I think that failure needs to be embraced more, and people need to be willing to take more risk. As part of that, I think we need to not be stifled by macro social contract, which means the way the world has to work. For example, I was told all the time that it's all about having a great idea is why you become a good entrepreneur or not. Or I was told that you need lots of money. Or I was told that you need to go after a huge market. Well, none of those things actually happened with Indiegogo. People thought we had a terrible idea. We just executed a lot. We had virtually no money to launch, and everybody said our market didn't even exist. What I'm getting at is when we were children, the only way we believed what somebody said is if we touched it ourselves. For example, the kettle. When it was a hot kettle and your mom said it's hot, don't touch it, you were too young to believe her, so you need to experience it yourself. And you're like, oh, mom, it's actually hot. You're right. But sometimes she'll say it's cold outside, and you went outside, you're like, it's not that cold, because for me, it's not that cold, because it's my reality. So I would say don't succumb to the myths of the world's reality. You need to create your own truths. So, just test the world out there.
Great words of wisdom. Appreciate you sharing those. Slava, on behalf of the National Society of Leadership and Success, I want to thank you for joining us today. And we'd like to invite you to join us as one of our 600,000 members. So we're presenting you as an honorary member of the Society.
Thank you.
And to our viewers watching today, we hope that you've enjoyed this time with Slava. We want to express our appreciation for your time. And we wish you continued success on your own journey on being a leader who makes a better world.